Sandeep. Good morning where you are. Good evening where I am. How are you doing today?
Very good, Gaurav. Such a pleasure to see you again.
Yes, it's always is. And, now you're a mentor and advisor to us at Job and also a close friend. So it's always good to have you in front of the screen and speak with you. So thank you for taking out the time. Really appreciate it. I'm very excited about today's episode. I'm speaking to one of my mentors who's really helping me to kind of build Job and build the business up. And also with your immense knowledge of what you have done over the past years, I think a lot of our users will get a lot of nuggets today that they can go back and use them in their professional and career journey as well. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Gaurav, for the kind words and for having me here.
Great. So, Sandeep, I cannot do justice to make the introduction. So, can I ask you to take a couple of minutes and really introduce about yourself, about your journey to the users, and anything that stands out in your career or really shaped your journey would be interesting for our users to know.
History is very important, past is very important, but somehow I have started giving less weightage to it. So I'll keep it really short and very crisp. So I'm a strategy and human resource professional. So I worked in this field in large businesses, basically working on transformation, digital transformation, culture change, professionalizing the setup, and also creating more joyous place to work. So I think that has been my purpose, to create workspaces where people come and really like to work, and they take the values that they learn from the work to their families. And that's how we can create a much more fulfilling lives for everyone around us. So I'm a computer science engineer. I pivoted into human resources, so with a professional qualification, and work with some fabulous setups and also great mentors. And I've picked up a lot of things, but I think the most rewarding part of my journey has been the kind of people I've met, and that includes you as well. So I think I have learned a lot, from your entrepreneurial experience, and how you have gone about things. So yeah, and I have been very closely working with the business leaders. So that's where I'm kind of in an intersection between business strategy and human resources. Yeah, that's a short and sweet about me.
No, absolutely, and thanks for giving us that background, right? So, just curious, Sandeep, that coming from an engineering background, and how did you get interested in the HR world, in the people world, and from the people world, what made you get interested in the business world? Because I know you don't get into the logistical HR, right? You're more in the business HR and understanding how business can really be helped with the HR world. So, how did that transition happen and why?
Hmm. I always believe education and experience should broaden our options. It should make us be able to do more rather than constrain us. So, my education in, say, computer science has helped me a lot in the people function. Like computer science, or if you look at programming, it's all about resource management, the line of code you write, the reusable functions that you write, how you write the code that it is maintainable, how you write the code it uses less or optimizes the computing resources and the memory space. So if you see, a good computer engineer is basically someone who works around resource optimization. A good people manager also works around a lot of resource optimization. When I say resource optimization, it can be the limited budget that you have, you do the maximum for people, and you also optimize between the interests of people and interests of organization. You cannot kind of weigh in more on one side, because then the balance goes for a toss. And now business, because I realized that I should not be the you know representative of people function in business, rather I should be representative of business in people function. So I'm flipping the
How is that? I mean, it is small nuance, right? But how is it different, and how do you kind of create that balance? That is it people for the business, or is it business for the people? What is the balance out there?
yeah That's a fabulous question, and you're very right. It's extremely nuanced. We have to understand people and business are in a symbiotic relation, so they benefit from each other. When
Hmm.
people are in flourishing businesses, they get growth, they get prosperity. Similarly, when people flourish in an organization, the business sees growth, business sees profitability. It's important to understand that there will be give and take. There will be sometimes, business taking a little bit of, priority. Sometimes people take a little bit of priority. And that happens with external forces as well, the circumstances, competitive forces, and absolutely black swan events like we had recently. So it is important to understand that we are in a relation where we have to also give. And a lot of times people expect businesses to give. And if you see, businesses expect people to give in the form of performance.
Hmm.
And that's where performance comes at the centerpiece. That's the middle ground where everything actually can get integrated.
Very well, very well. I mean, at Joy of Performing, that the reason we exist is because of that alignment of business and people performance, right? I think
Absolutely.
it's easier said than done, and very difficult to get business and people to understand that they have to coexist. They can't, they can't be in isolation, right? But again, yeah, thanks for sharing that, Sandeep. Now, Sandeep, let me ask you a question. Like, you were in the business space and you've worked with some of the biggest organizations in the past, and then going back to the institute, what is it that you have learned in the last 6 months, or what do you think you're going to get, which is going to make you a much richer, professional, or will help you to add more value to the business? What are those early things that you see, and where do you think this is leading towards?
Sure. So I think the diversity of perspectives that you get and the openness with which it is shared. When you are in an organizational hierarchical setup, sometimes a lot of information is filtered. If you are in a position of power, it gets filtered. If you are not in a position of power, it still gets filtered. When you're in an academic setup, and that too in top prestigious places where the best minds are working, you kind of, no one is afraid of expressing what they really think. And it's a safe environment where you can express and you can also take the feedback, the inputs. And we all know this is for the betterment of everyone who are in the space. So that's where I think the best takeaways for me till now, they have been the kind of people I have met. And I have known that there are so many great people, right from the engineering side, right from the deep tech side, business side, innovation side, anything that is cutting edge. So there's a lot of talent around. And we always think we need to build things from scratch, but I feel spotting the right opportunities, meeting the right people, and putting the pieces together strategically can add a lot of value. So I think that's what I've got till now. Met great people, got great perspectives, got a lot of inputs for myself, and I'm in a safe environment. So I think, yeah,
No,
that's
that's
great.
great. That's great. Okay, so let me go back to the workspace back again, right? So, in your years of experience, are there any two or three things that really stand out that actually shaped up, and gave you that really push or acceleration in your understanding of business or people? So if there are any specific examples or specific points that you can share, that will be great.
Sure. Again, a fabulous question. We get shaped by the environment and the people we work with, no doubt. So I'm like a average of all the people I have worked with, and I really truly stand by that. And I've been very fortunate to work with some fabulous people. The first learning I got is leadership matters. Many a times we feel talent is, we don't measure talent properly. We don't measure performance properly. But when you are in the environment where talent and performance is valued, and you see that getting valued, the culture that wraps this kind of behavior is extremely enriching. So I have learned to value talent and performance and create a space where people around me feel more energized. That's the first one. Second is execution. We can make tons of strategy. You can read a strategy book, you can, watch something, get an idea from your friend. That means nothing. Ideas are the cheapest thing you can get. You walk on the street, throw a problem, 10 people will give you 10 ideas. Whether feasible or not, executable or not is different. Even if they are executable, even if they are feasible, very few will actually do it. So what creates the difference is execution. So wherever I have worked, I have thought of execution to be the key differentiator between, and what matters, what is the difference between success and failure. Third major point is we should not feel we know enough. Having the humility that there is a solution out there, there are people out there, there are ways out there which can be better than what we have. I think that humility allows us to continuously learn. And I think I have opened and I have learned it from people around me, but I have opened myself to new technology, new platforms, new ways of doing the same thing. And I think that has helped, you know improvement in my workspace, in the way I work, and experience of my team. Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. I think very well point done. Let me ask you from the first point that you shared, yeah, talent and performance. And you said that it's very hard to measure that, and I believe that. We are in that business, so we know how hard it is. And but what were your ways wherever you worked? How were you able to really find out the right kind of talent for the right kind of role, and what were your ways of having those metrics for performance measurement? Just wanted to kind of get a sense for that.
Yeah. Let me admit, it's not at all easy.
Yeah.
95% of companies, big or small, mess it up and are messing it up. It is not an easy problem to solve. I have found there are inherent challenges in bringing in objectivity in performance. I think the way you actually do it is, if you try to bring objectivity, you are able to measure it better, you are able to see the delta, you are able to reward people accordingly. So, the basis of everything is bringing in objectivity and ability to track. The once in a year annual performance cycle, mid-year performance cycle are thing of the past. There is 1 year is a huge time. In 1 year, there will be 100 companies will come and completely disrupt us and go. That's the reason the cycle has to be so short that it should almost look like continuous. There should be an ability of setting the performance matrices and measuring the performance matrices almost at real time. And where I could find a lot of value is when you are able to identify where the performance challenge is coming up, and that can be with best with lead indicators. If you have lead indicators, you can predict that, okay, now I'm going to face a challenge there, and I then have the time to respond to that challenge, and I fix the problem even before the problem has surfaced. And but I'm telling you, it's not at all easy. It requires a lot of deep understanding of people and performance, and it requires tool that enable you. You cannot do it on a paper pen, or the tools that we generally use. There are a lot of specialized, there's specialized tools and systems that are required to help and support us in doing that.
Sure. So I think we all agree that it's a big problem and it's a complex problem. It's not an easy problem to solve, right? Now, knowing that, do you think the HRs or the business HRs worldwide and even the CXOs, they actually give it the importance it needs? And it is one of the maybe top three or top five things that they actually care about and solve for as well, because sometimes you know there is a problem, but your business is running as usual, so you're like, okay, I will deal with it when I get the time for it. Or do you think now people are really going ahead and dealing with it now because they understand that if they don't deal with it, it is only going to create more and more problems for their future? Where do you think the industry is today?
I think every good leader completely understands the problem. They completely realize that performance is the cornerstone of everything that they do in the organization. And they very authentically want to solve the problem. But this is a problem that cannot be solved by one stakeholder. This challenge has to be solved with multiple stakeholders coming together. There are few business problems that can be solved just by the CEO, just by the CFO, or just by the COO or head of HR or CHR. But performance is where the all the employees, because you are measuring everyone, all the employees get involved. All the people managers get involved in two roles: one, their own performance; second, as team managers; third is there is measurement; fourth, there is a policy layer. Once you measure, what do you do with it? Fifth is the motivation layer. You measure, you have policies, but is everything coming together to ultimately motivate people to do more? Is it making them feel good about their performance? So, if you see, there are multiple layers in this problem and there are multiple stakeholders. And that's exactly the reason where I think a little bit of help is required. This requires focused effort, and a lot of our leaders, because of the business challenges and the competitive space they are in, their time gets sucked up in a lot of business realities and competitive landscapes. But this and the same is true with the CHROs. They are also busy with a lot of mundane transactional activities, which I really hope we completely automate with the advancement in AI. We completely automate these things so that they really focus on two major things. One is hire the best people, and second is let them perform. Yeah. So
No,
I
that's
think
great. I think, and just in the continuation of this, how much do you think technology is assisting today, and where with? I mean, you used AI, right?
yeah.
And you come from an engineering background, and I think we've had conversations about technology and HR and some deep conversations there. So, how much of thing is available today versus used today? And where do you think the trend is using technology in the future for something like performance? You know, it could be business or people performance, and how do you think it's going to go in the future?
Right. So, I think the development has been very slow, and the focus was more on creating the records, maintaining the records, having a history, and infusing some kind of subjectivity with objectivity to arrive at something which is manageable. This was always a gray area. Performance remained a gray area because it was too complex, as I told you, to be solved by one thing. A software will also not solve it. If you give a tool to someone, it will not solve it. What will solve is the tool plus hand holding, focused hand holding. It can be coaching, it can be basically the ball should not drop. So, bringing all the stakeholders together, letting them know the best way of doing it, how to use it and how it can help them, that handholding. Third is involvement. Even if you handhold, if the organization doesn't imbibe it, then also the ball will drop. So it's the tool plus handholding plus involvement. When all of these three come together, then we will have a viable solution. If I draw parallel to the development in mobile phones, if you see the mobile phone, the developments till the iPhone era was, we can say it was fast paced, but if you really look at it, it was like bulky mobiles to color screens to touch screen, low pixel, low cameras, etc. But if you see, once the smartphone era began and the data became cheap, you will see the rate of advancement exponentially increased. Apps got developed. Because of apps, commercialization happened, e-commerce developed, people's behavior, buying behavior shifted, businesses became online. You see, it's one point, pivotal point, after which there's an exponential increase. I think we have reached that pivotal point with the generative AI advancement, which is not too great right now, but it I think it's a kind of tipping point. It is not too great, but it has reached a point where I think it will begin the era of exponential increase in tech advancement, and this I'm sure will solve the performance problem very soon.
I agree with you, and I think I love the 2 points that you make, right? And I want to reinstate for our users. First thing, performance cannot be solved. You cannot throw technology to the problem and solve it. It needs great technology and a great product that can work with that technology, but it does require the stakeholders to be involved doing it and then creating a culture so that it gets adopted well as well, right? And that's where the leadership comes. So I cannot agree more with you with that point. And I think you're right. I think with AI, there is a lot of opportunity to move away from being a system of records and also now assisting with different use cases of how people can really get the benefit of the technology and move like with leaps and bounds in understanding and maintaining and measuring and enabling performances in their organization. So I think we are in that phase right now. So I genuinely think there is going to be a lot of disruption happening in this space in the future. And at Job, we are passionate about this, and we are leading with our AI initiatives that we are taking in order to solve this problem as well. So great. Anything that you want to, and you touched upon execution, right? So there is a philosophy which says that if you are execution minded, and OKRs is a great way, for you to enable execution, then you should not be measuring performance with that, because the moment you do that, then people don't want to have stretch goals, they limit themselves. But there is another way of thinking, which is, in order for you to have unbiased way of looking at performance and building at that transparency, OKR is a great way to link OKRs and performance. What is your view on that? Your real business view on that?
Right. So there are two parts to this. The first part is making things objective. And once you make things objective, then there are different methods. And the second is the method that you use. So one is making things objective, and second is the method that you use for that. I think the best people, the most productive people, high performing people like to differentiate. They don't like to be kind of seen same as everyone. They like to differentiate. And the best way they can differentiate is when their performance is measured. I'm not saying make everything completely objective. There can be effort based, but let it be 80-20. Let 80 be, objective, and 20 be effort based, subjective. That's okay. We are human beings. There are various angles to everything. And I'm completely okay with that. Second is the method. So I would like objectivity because I want to retain my top talent. I want to ensure my top talent is happy working, because again it's 80-20. 20% of top talent will produce 80% of result. As simple as that. So I'm sold on objectivity as a business leader. Second is the method. So if you see, no one method is completely right, no one method is completely wrong. It just evolves. If you see, again, I gave example of mobile phones. Let me extend the same example. Today we have the technology of making a phone which was available in 2005 or 2001 or 2010. We have the technology to make it, right? And we have the technology to make it what 2025 demands. 24, 25, 26, 27. So what the future years demand, so all our all the mobile phone manufacturing companies, are they designing for 2005 or they are designing for 2035? They are designing for 2035. So if you see, various methods have come by. There was a time when there's a force distribution concept, there's balance scorecard concept. Very good. They have served a lot of organizations a very beautiful way. KRA KPIs are there, MBOs. There are a lot of methods which have been applied, and OKR is also a method. Can we live with the previous old methods which have kind of which we have applied in the last 15 years, 20 years, 10 years? Yes, we can. With a 2005 mobile phone also you can make calls. But do we want to design our organization for 2005 or 2035? That's the question.
I think
If
that's a
the answer
beautiful,
is
beautiful analogy. Yeah,
if the answer is 2035, then let's go with something that is latest.
sure.
Comparatively latest. I'm not saying it is today. It's also a proven model. It has not come by today. So it's a proven model. And benefit from why the evolution of method happened, because when repeated application and execution of that method happened, people found, okay, there are some flaws in it, let's try to fix it. They kept fixing it. Slowly the literature evolved, the execution evolved. After some point of time they felt, the incremental change is not enough to support the rapid change in the business. That's where the new method emerged. That's the complete philosophy behind emergence of new methods. Now when we have the benefit of an OKR, it's a choice if you want to go for any other method, but I would recommend go with something that will help us go into the future more prepared.
Yeah, no, definitely. Great. No, thank you, Sandeep. This was a fantastic episode. I think we really got into the depth of why performance is important, why objectivity is important, how should a leader be looking at solving this complex problem. It's not an easy problem to solve. How is it not just being solved with technology, but with different stakeholders to come together and collaborate to solve this problem? And what are the different ways AI can bring in order to solve the problem in future? Thank you so much. Is there anything that you would like to add as a parting note to our audience today?
I would say, whether you are a human resource professional or any other professional, this space, people space, is getting disrupted. There's HR function should be evangelist, and entire people responsibility has to go to all the line managers, which is true today, but they need to get more empowered. They need to see more details. They need to be able to make decisions. They should be able to differentiate. So the way it is little more centralized towards the people function, so the work happens through the managers, but a lot of decisions are happening, in HR function. I think now that is past. So whatever nature of your line function or support function is, or business, you're leading the business, keep in mind that it is important to empower managers not only to do the people work but also to decide. And that can only happen if you provide them with the tools, methods, and support that is required for them to do this in the least possible time and minimum effort. It should not be heavy lifting. So please think about solutions which are lighter for the manager, easy for the manager, quick for the manager, and gives joy to the manager. That will be my final thoughts.
No, thank you. Thank you so much. And I just want to compliment for your background, right? Where are you right now? Is
I'm in the
this
MIT campus.
beautiful? Oh,
Yeah,
you
I'm in the
are.
MIT campus.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Nice, nice and green and sunny now.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sandeep.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for your time. So if our audience want to speak with you or get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to get in touch with you, Sandeep?
Well, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, so I'm sure you will get a link for that, and otherwise they can drop me a mail. So whenever we maybe extend this, we can share my contact details as well.
Thank you.
But I'm very
Thank you so
happy to
much, Sandeep.
speak. I'm very happy to speak about performance. I'm very happy to speak about people, strategy, anything that is related to digital transformations. I'm very happy to connect with people. And especially if there's anything related to OKR, I'm really happy to connect with people. So yeah, feel free.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sandeep.